Hare Krishna. Let's get started.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We will start with the Mangalacharan prayers as usual. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, welcome everyone. So today we will be completing chapter 7, one of the most important chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. And we will continue from 7.24. So today's lesson will be a little bit in this abstract side of things because the verses are of such nature. And we will go into some of the topics that are very interesting and very complex. So don't worry that you are, even I don't understand many of those topics very clearly. So, I can only tell you how much I know. As you will see, these topics are some of the deepest topics in the Bhagavad Gita, in the entire understanding of Vedic literature. And Lord Krishna is going to touch upon them very, slightly, and we will, try to discuss them as best as possible at a very good level, but very, very complex topics. So let's get started on our journey. Let me get some light here, actually. All right. So 7.24. So far, we are of course, we are in the 7th chapter, and we are undergoing the discussion in this part of the kinds of people who do not surrender to Krishna. So there was the discussion of those 4 categories who don't surrender to Krishna. That was in 7.15. Namam dushkritano mudha prapadyante naradhama. So that's 1. And or mudha was 1. Naradhama is 2nd. Mayaya aparhita jnana, that's 3rd. Asuram bhavam, that's 4th. Ashritaha. So those are the 4 categories of people who do not surrender, who are basically just not interested or are against God. Then there are people who surrender to someone else other than Krishna. And we had a long discussion last week, and that is verses number 20 to 23 of those who surrender to the Devis and Devatas. Anya Devataha Kamaistair Hrita Jnana Prapadyante Anya Devataha. That is 7.20. So those who surrender to the demigods or the other, so they go to them. But Lord Krishna was saying that the benefits that they get are actually provided by Krishna only. That's point number one. And point number two is that those things that they get are of material nature. They are not of a spiritual nature. And therefore, those things are temporary, antavat. They are temporary and they are limited. They are not unlimited and they are not eternal. And we also discussed of how to approach the demigods or the Devis and Devatas in with the consciousness of pure bhakti. And the one thing, and actually the only thing that the Devis and Devatas can give or that can provide, that is not material and not temporary and not limited, is the impetus to worship Krishna. That is something the Devis and Devatas can give, the inspiration. So if at all we have to approach the Devis and Devatas, we can approach them to increase or deepen our desire to do bhakti to Krishna. That is something that can be done. So, and we must absolutely always respect all the Devis and Devatas because they themselves are devotees of Krishna. So there is by no means one should disrespect them or reject them. But one should not go after material benefits. Give me more money, give me this, give me that. Now we come to a different category of those who surrender to someone or something else other than Krishna. And these verses 24 and 25 are covering that. And this something else is surrendering or worshipping the impersonal Brahman. So we have talked about this before, and Lord Krishna is going to very, very clearly, in no uncertain terms, going to describe the position of those who try to approach the impersonal Brahman. And many of you may be aware, if you have been associated with some other kind of spiritual discussions or some other spiritual classes or books or methodologies or various spiritual paths, this is a very common aspect that you might have come across, that God essentially is something abstract. He is not a person. That is the understanding that many, many, many different philosophies provide. Now, that understanding is wrong at some level and is correct at some level as well, but not fully correct. I will explain those differences very carefully and very clearly. But the point is that they worship the impersonal Brahman. And you might have heard various names, or such as the Brahma Jyoti, or the Supreme Energy, or worshipping the absolute truth, or the Om. Various things you might have heard saying that or the Supreme Self. These things, various names could have been given, and the understanding that is provided is that is the Supreme. And Krishna or Rama or whoever else, they are just human manifestations of that energy. So that energy is superior and Krishna is a effect or a outcome of that superior energy. That is the understanding that is provided. And Krishna is saying here that that understanding is absolutely wrong. The correct understanding is that Krishna, the person Krishna, now we have discussed this before. The person Krishna, it doesn't mean a person who is having a material body like us with skin, flesh, bones, blood. He does not have a body made of material elements. He has a body made of the spiritual element. Remember, there are 9 elements that are described in Bhagavad Gita. 8 of them are lower and material in 7.4. Bhumi, Apa, Anala, Vayu, Kha, Mana, Buddhi, and Ahankara. And then in 7.5, Krishna is describing the superior element, which is the spiritual entity, the spirit. So Krishna's entire body, he is a person, but his body is not made of material elements like us, but his body is made of the spiritual element. Now, this is hard to understand because we have not seen with our eyes, at least I have not seen a person with a body but not made of flesh and blood. So it is hard for us to understand, but please realize that it is possible. Okay? And that is the body of Krishna. So he is still a person. And the effulgence, the light, the energy coming out of Krishna's body is that Brahman, which some people call as the Supreme, because they cannot see the energetic person behind that. Okay? So they don't realize that there is a person behind it from whom this energy is coming. All they see is the energy and they think that's the end. Everything else is coming from that energy, including the Krishna which spoke the Bhagavad Gita. That's what they think, and that is wrong. The sort of a way to understand this also could be that if you sometimes look directly at the sun, it's very hard to make out the circle sun. All you see is just dazzling light. You don't see anything else, and it's extremely hard to see anything in that dazzling light, let alone the sun itself. But if you look carefully at the cost of your eyes, so please don't do this, but I'm saying, or we know that there is the sun there from whom that bright light is coming. Okay, so if somebody were to say, oh, there's just light, there is nothing behind it, there's just light, and there is no sun behind, that would not be very intelligent. So in the same way, Brahman is absolutely there. The Brahma Jyoti or Brahman is there, but Krishna is behind it. He is the source of this Brahman. And actually we can, jump to some verses. The one very important verse where Krishna directly says this is 14.27. We are not yet at the 14th chapter, but we will do some verse hopping. And you can see here in 14.27, Lord Krishna is saying, Brahmana hi pratishtha aham. So Brahmana hi pratishtha aham. This Brahma is the Brahman. It's not Brahmana or the person Brahman like Brahmana Kshatriya. As I said, this Brahman could have 4 meanings, and also the way it is written and pronounced also makes the difference. So Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. So Krishna is directly saying, I am aham, I am the pratishtha, the foundation. Pratishtha means the foundation. I am the foundation or the resting place of this Brahman. So right there in 14th chapter, Krishna is clarifying that this Brahman is coming from me. I am not coming from Brahman. The same thing Krishna is saying, similar, in 7.24, also in a very direct way. So let us read 7.24. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyate mam abuddhayah param bhavam ajananto mama avyayam anuttamam. So Lord Krishna is saying, Avyaktam vyaktim apannam. So now this word avyaktam is important. It will occur at a few more places in the Bhagavad Gita. Avyakta means manifested, or something that you can, someone that you can see and feel and touch. Avyakta means he is uh, invisible, so to say, or unmanifested. Avyaktam, vyakti you all know, vyakti means person. So avyaktam vyaktim apannam means achieved, or I have taken the form. Manyate means they think of, or that's their understanding that they have. So what do these people have? So manyate mam, me. So what do some people have the understanding? That avyaktam has now taken the form of a vyakti. So originally there is avyaktam. Now that has become vyakti, a person. Okay. This is how some people manyate, some people think that I, this vyakti, me, have taken the form from something unmanifest, avyaktam. Okay. And then he's saying, manyate mam abuddhayaha. He is calling them abuddhayaha. Buddha means intelligent, buddhi means intelligent. Abuddhaya means not intelligent or unintelligent people. So Lord Krishna is directly calling such people who think that Krishna is a derivative of some non-manifest form, which is obviously then superior, because Krishna has taken from a form from that. He is calling them non-intelligent or unintelligent, which means that that understanding is wrong. That Krishna is coming from something non-manifested. And then next line he is saying, Param bhavam ajananto. They do not know my param bhavam. Ajananto means don't know. Jana means to know. Ajananto means don't know. So they don't know my param bhavam, my superior, my supreme nature, param bhavam. Param bhavam ajananto mama avyayam anuttamam. So mama means my. Avyayam means imperishable. And anuttamam means the ultimate, the topmost, the best. So which means that if this vyakti has taken a form from some unmanifest form or some unmanifest energy, then he will also go away also. He will disappear. The form, this vyakti comes, takes some form from something unmanifest and then disappears. Correct? That's natural understanding. Here he is saying, I'm avyayam, I'm imperishable. They don't know that my nature is imperishable. So again, that thing is being refuted. Plus Krishna is saying such people are abuddhaya. They are unintelligent people who think like that. So directly Krishna is refuting the fact that I am not a temporary human-like form from something unmanifest. If you think like that, you are unintelligent, Krishna is saying, and you don't know my actual imperishable and supreme form, my param bhavam. Okay, so that's the breakdown of the Sanskrit. Srila Prabhupada's translation is exactly like that. Unintelligent men, abuddhaya, who do not know me perfectly, think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, param bhavam, which is imperishable, avyayam, and supreme, anuttamam. Okay. So very, very clearly, Krishna is saying this here. Now this verse, now there is a very high degree of correlation between the 7th chapter and the 9th chapter. In the 9th chapter also, there is a very similar verse, but much, much more strong. Let's have a look at that. That will be 9.11. And I will show you what he says about such people. So 9.11, Krishna is saying, Avajananti ma mudha. So again, very similar word, avajananto, param bhavam ajananto. Krishna is saying, avajananti ma mudha. Here he called them abuddhaya, there he is calling them mudha. So, avajananti ma mudha, manushim tanumashritam. Manushi means like a human, manushya. Tanumashritam, I have taken the ashraya, ashritam, the shelter of a manushim, like a human form. Param bhavam ajananto. Again, Krishna is saying, Param bhavam ajananto, mama bhuta maheshwaram. That I am the supreme Lord of the whole universe. And then in the next verse, Krishna is almost like cursing about such people. He's using very, very strong words about the people who carry that understanding that manushim tanum ashritam, that I am a human being or I am just like them. What is he saying? Mogha asha, mogha karmano, mogha jnana vichetasaha. So mogha asha means their hopes. Asha means hope. Mogha means is lost, is completely like a gone case, completely like there's no hope for such people. So mogha asha, their hopes are lost. Mogha karmano, all their activities are lost. And mogha jnana, their jnana is lost, which means they are completely lost. They're just good for nothing. Vichetasaha rakshasim asurim chaiva. They are like rakshasas, asuras. So he's calling them demons and monsters. Prakritim mohinim ashritaha, saying that they go to the nature of the rakshasa and asura, and that's the nature that they attain. Prakritim mohinim, that's what they are attracted to. So like that, Lord Krishna is talking about those who think that Lord Krishna is inferior to this something more superior called the Brahman. Now, a lot of things need to be said over here, and let's go into that. Let's do a little bit more understanding of this. So in the previous verse, 7.23, Lord Krishna was talking about those people who put their faith in the Devis and Devatas. Krishna said that's also not perfect. Okay, because they are asking for something material and various other things. But there he called them Alpa Medhasa. In 7.23b, if you see, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati Alpa Medhasam. Alpa Medhasa means of men of Medhasa means intelligence, just like Buddhaya. So he's saying Alpa Medhasa, they're of small intelligence. Here he is saying Abuddhaya, of no intelligence, which means they are worse than those who at least worship the demigods. They are men of small intelligence. He is saying these are men of no intelligence. You can see the contrast. Correct? So that is first thing. Then, okay. Then let me explain the difference between, there are two categories of people who put their faith in the Brahman or who worship the Brahman. These are called Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. Now this point you must understand carefully. I am going to do a detailed explanation today about this. So it's better if you understand now. This is a complex topic, but a very important topic of the Bhagavad Gita. And therefore it's good that you understand. And it's not just for philosophical reasons. Of course, that is a big aspect. It's not just also an abstract topic because it's there in Bhagavad Gita. We have to talk about it. Sure, that's another point. But the third point, which is most important, is that after this Bhagavad Gita course is over and you will go out and you will, live your life. I mean, you're still living your life, but you will encounter other people. You might share with them, I read Bhagavad Gita. You might have a discussion. Some other people might approach you. They will know that yes, you are spiritually minded, so they will try to tell you other things. Oh, listen to my understanding, come to my classes, read my book. All these things will happen, and in many of those places you will find this impersonal understanding of God that they are going to tell you. Okay, and that is very, very dangerous, and I'm going to tell you why that is dangerous. So you must be very clear what is the highest and the correct understanding, at least as per the Bhagavad Gita. And many of those people will use the Bhagavad Gita as their basis. They will say, no, no, Bhagavad Gita says that Krishna is impersonal. They are hoping that you have not read the Bhagavad Gita. They are banking on that fact. Or they are banking on the fact that you might have read it, but have not interpreted it or understood it correctly. And that is why I'm spending so much time on this verse, going exactly word by word in the Sanskrit language, so that you can see what Lord Krishna is directly saying. Somebody will put a doubt in your mind. Oh, Srila Prabhupada is from the Bhakti Yoga side, so his interpretations are not correct. He has twisted the words and made it appear to suit his understanding. Okay, let's go directly to the Sanskrit and see what Lord Krishna has said. Even in their Bhagavad Gitas, the Sanskrit word is the same. The Sanskrit verses are still the same. Okay, and like I said before, they will try to, it's very hard to translate the Sanskrit also in a way that is different, but somehow they are able to do that also. And easiest thing is they just ignore these verses. They will say, no, 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 let's skip it. Like I told you, I was attending some class which was talking about 50 most important verses of Bhagavad Gita or this or that. They don't talk about these verses at all. They sometimes just skip the 7th chapter altogether. They will keep on talking about detachment and all those things till the 5th chapter, 6th chapter. Then suddenly you will see 13th chapter. What happened to the middle 6 chapters? As if they don't exist. So these are the things you will encounter. And that's why I am telling you this in detail, so that you can say, okay, let me open up my Bhagavad Gita. I attended that course in 2020 and see what is written directly in Bhagavad Gita and see if it makes sense. See if it matches with this other understanding that I am being told. And you are all intelligent people. And at that point, you have to use your intelligence to see what is right, what is wrong. And then lead your life, lead your spiritual life in that way. You have to be very careful, just like you have to be careful what you eat, who you talk to, who you be friends with. Similarly, you have to be very careful with what understanding you get out of Bhagavad Gita. So there are two categories of people who worship or who are attracted to the impersonal Brahman. They are Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. Brahmavadis are good. They are better, I would say. They have a correct understanding, but not a complete understanding. It's like the truth, but not the full truth. Whereas the Mayavadis have a wrong understanding. So what are the Brahmavadis? The Brahmavadis are those who have the understanding that, yes, there is something behind the Brahman. I don't know what that is. Something, someone. They don't know, and they don't care also. They are just attracted to the Brahman. Wow, this bright light, this energy is so wonderful. I will worship this energy. And yes, there is something, someone behind it. I don't want to care or worry about it. Whoever that is the source of this Brahman. Must be somebody very powerful, more superior to the Brahman, but that's fine. I will love the Brahman. Okay? Just like sometimes, a child is more attracted to his uncle than his parents, because the uncle is more, loving. He gives all the time, brings gifts and chocolates, whatever. Sometimes the child is like, oh, I love my uncle so much more. Parents are there, yes, but my love is towards the uncle. Similarly, they know that, yes, there is somebody behind the Brahman, but I am attracted to the Brahman. Fine, that's okay. At least they are not offensive to that someone behind the Brahman, the source of the Brahman. They are not against that. They are not denying his or her existence. Okay. However, and by the way, most of the time when they come to know about the details of that person behind the Brahman, then they are immediately attracted to that person. A very, very wonderful example is that of the four Kumaras in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the third canto, you will see, actually the fourth canto, I'm getting confused. The four Kumaras go to Vaikuntha. And there, so the four Kumaras are these pure Brahmavadis. They are in complete knowledge of the absolute truth, and they are worshipping this supreme Brahman. But when they go to Vaikuntha, they are about to meet Lord Vishnu. But before that, they get the fragrance of the smell of the tulsi leaves, the fragrance of the tulsi leaves at the feet of Lord Vishnu. And that fragrance of the tulsi leaves just mesmerizes them and gives them the actual or the full understanding of the person behind the Brahman, which is Lord Vishnu. And then they become perfect devotees of Lord Vishnu. So this Brahmavadi stage is like a stage of, what do I say in physics, unstable equilibrium. It's a state of equilibrium, but very soon, the moment you come to know about the person, Vishnu or Krishna, you are immediately attracted to him. Okay. So mostly the people stay in the Brahmavadi stage because simply they don't know who is the person, who is the energetic behind the energy. Behind the energy, there has to be an energetic. Okay. So once they come to know, they are immediately attracted. The Mayavadis, on the other hand, are completely aware of this person, Vishnu or Krishna, but they consider him to be inferior or a derivative of the Brahman. And that is very offensive. Why is that offensive? They say that this personal form is a material manifestation of that spiritual Brahman. So which means they are saying Krishna or Vishnu has a material element in him. Whereas Krishna has said so many times, Param Bhavam Ajananto Mama Avyayam Anuttamam. That he is Anuttamam and Avyayam, imperishable. Material things cannot be Avyayam. And many other places he has said, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, and in 4.6 also, and several other verses. So they say that this, the personal form of God, Rama, Krishna, Vishnu, or whichever form of God you consider, Narsingha, Varaha, Kurma, Matsya, etc., they are all just convenient fiction. Either they are fiction or that supreme energy took the form of this being to do some act and then disappear back into the Brahman. And also, what is the relevance for today? Today's people, the relevance for them is that they are meant for less intelligent people. They need a form. They cannot relate to abstract. See, I am so intelligent. I can think about abstract energy. They need a person to think of. Otherwise, they cannot think. So they are less intelligent. Krishna has actually said exactly the opposite in 7.24, that those who think that the abstract is my source, they are unintelligent. So some people say, no, no, no. This form of God is a temporary tool so that you can put your focus better on that form. You can have a picture to look at of Krishna so that you can make spiritual progress. Once you become advanced, you can kick out the picture. You can throw away the picture. You don't need the picture anymore, they will say. Now you can directly think about Brahman. So they think that this form of God is a convenient tool, is a stepping stone to something higher. All these statements are very, very offensive. You are downgrading Krishna to just a tool to make spiritual progress, whereas Krishna is the goal. He's not a tool, he's not a stepping stone, he is the goal. So that makes it very, very offensive. And another thing that they will say, and why they are called Mayavadis? Because, like I said, they consider that the body of Krishna or the form of Krishna is made of matter, and anything in matter means Maya. Maya is only present in the material world, right? Not in the spiritual world. So that is Mayavadi, because this form is material, has a material element in it. Just become more technical. This is from one of the Mayavadi texts. I don't know which one, and I don't care to know either. But they say that this Brahman is the original supreme form, the original spiritual form. Okay? And we have studied in Bhagavad Gita about the three material modes, and they are the material modes. Sattva, mode of goodness; Raja, mode of passion; and Tama, mode of ignorance. Right? These are the three material modes. So they say they have this concept of Jagadish, Jiva, and Jagat, or Jagat, Jiva, and Jagadish. So they say Jagadish means God, Jiva means us, the living entities, and Jagat means the material nature or the matter, like this pen over here, or anything that is matter, dead matter. So they say that when the supreme Brahman is mixed with mode of goodness, the spiritual Brahman, when mixed with Sattva Guna, which is material, then you get Jagdish. Okay, that's what they say. Jagdish is supreme Brahman plus mode of goodness. Jiva is supreme Brahman plus mode of passion. And Jagat, or matter, dead matter, is supreme Brahman mixed with mode of ignorance, or Tama. Which means all three have some mixture of material mode. So Jagadish is higher than Jiva, which is higher than Jagat. But all three are at various levels of materialism. That is wrong. Nowhere in Bhagavad Gita it is said like that. This is how all this thing they describe. So basically they reduce or downgrade Jagdish, who is Krishna. Jagdish. Jagdish means the Lord of the universe, to a material form. Krishna in 7.12, he says that these material and the modes in 7.12, let's see what he says. That know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. That's what Krishna is saying in 7.12. Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasas tamasas chaye matta evaiti tan vidhi natva aham teshu te mai. That these three modes are coming from me. That's what he is saying right there in 7.12. How can they say that Krishna is coming from the mode? When this mode of goodness is mixed with some Brahman, then you get Krishna. That means Krishna is coming from the mode of goodness. How can they say that? Right here, Krishna is saying the modes are coming from him, not that he is coming from the modes. You see? So all that is complete nonsense. Just utter nonsense. So, this understanding of Mayavadism. So Brahmavadis are fine. They are like, they don't offend, they're not offensive to Krishna. They say we are going for the silver medal. They know there is a gold medal, Krishna. The derivative is Brahman. They know that, let's say silver medal, they say, we want to aim for silver medal. I don't care about gold medal. Fine. At least you are acknowledging there is something higher. So that is okay. Here the Mayavadis claim that Krishna is silver medal, Brahman is gold medal. And this is called being worse than the materialists. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that such people are worse than materialists. Materialists means pure, who are just, eat, drink and be happy. No God, no spiritual progress, no Brahman, nothing. Just normal, bindas. So why is that? Why does Krishna call such people? You can argue that at least they are trying to make some spiritual progress. They should be better than the materialists. Krishna is saying they are worse than the materialists. The reason is that at least the materialist knows that he is putting away spiritual progress. He is keeping it away from his life and he is enjoying material life. And he is willing to accept the future consequences of this enjoyment if he believes in it. If he doesn't believe, he will just even ignore. All right, don't bother me. I am happy. Eat, drink, be merry. We will see whatever happens in next life. If there is a next life, fine. I'll suffer. Don't worry. But don't disturb me right now. Let me be happy. At least he is taking that attitude. He is not under the illusion of making spiritual progress. Okay. These Mayavadis, on the other hand, they are under the illusion of making spiritual progress. Though they are not. They are offensive to Krishna or God. So there is no hope for them to correct course because they think they are on the right course. They are on the right path. So who will tell them that they are on the wrong path so that they can correct course? Sometimes such people are met by a pure devotee. Sometimes, if Lord Krishna is merciful, he will bring in touch to them with a pure devotee. He will jolt such people. Wake up from your illusion. And sometimes they may correct course and become pure devotees as well. That is why Mayavadis are considered to be worse than materialists. Because they are fooling themselves. They are under illusion and therefore they are closing the doors behind them to make any spiritual progress in the future. Okay. The other damage caused by Mayavadism, and this one applies even to Brahmavadis as well, is that there is no taste in impersonal progress. Because it's very hard to build a relationship. We as human beings, we are all about relationships. That's why when you want to hurt a human being, you put him in jail. When you want to punish someone, correct? Because you take away all his social interactions, all his relationships. You just put him in solitary confinement. That's one of the biggest punishments that you can give to someone, is to take away all his capacity to have relationships with anyone. So if one does not have the capacity or the opportunity rather to build a relationship, it's very hard. I mean, it's hard to build a relationship with abstract energy. When you are offering bhoga, when you prepare food, nice food, and you say, energy, please have this food. It doesn't make sense. Who are you offering the food to? You can keep convincing yourself for somehow that, you are building a relationship, and then they have to downgrade to some stepping stone. Oh, let me offer bhoga to Krishna, but this Krishna is actually temporary. He's a stepping stone. When I become advanced, I don't need this Krishna. So either they have to introduce Krishna or God in the middle stages, or it becomes very hard for them anyway. So unless one's mind is very strongly controlled in this impersonalism, they usually drift away. They lose taste. And they not only lose taste in the impersonal conception of God, they lose taste in completely spiritual progress completely itself. And they go back to being materialists. That's the usual progress, or the flow chart. So what good did it do? And more so, it created an impression in their mind that I have tried spirituality, so I'm not going to go back to it again. It's like, if you have a bad experience with a doctor, even if somebody else tells you, no, actually it may have been some exception, he's a good doctor, your personal experiences are more stronger. You say, no, don't, I'm not going back there again. Whatever, maybe there's just complete rejection in the mind to entire spirituality. I don't care about spiritual progress. All this is nonsense. I am happy in my material life. So they never have an impetus to try it out again in a different path. They completely lose taste. And human life is pretty short. The desire to make spiritual progress itself happens very rarely. And the one time when they have a bad experience, the chances of them trying out again are very, very low. That's the other big problem with spiritual progress. Or if they don't deviate, they may stick to it just so that they feel less guilty. Oh, I'm doing something spiritual. Every Sunday I'm going to this society. We do some, mantra meditation, some this thing, that thing, and come back. And then you are leading a completely material life. There is no change in lifestyle. There is no devotion. It's not a change in your behavior, in who you are as a devotee, as a bhakta. And that simply becomes a source for removing your guilt that I am leading a materialist life. What good is that as well? So all these are the big problems with Mayavadism. Okay. Now it is possible that in the very, very advanced stages, for the Brahmavadis also have this problem, developing this taste or this relationship with the abstract energy. But it is possible that the Brahmavadis at a very advanced stage derived joy, the happiness out of this relationship, whatever the relationship you can call it, with the Brahman. And supposedly there is great joy in it. There is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita 18.54 that is talking about such Brahmavadis. It says, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. So one who is engaged in this, his focus on the Brahman, Brahma bhuta prasannatma, he's completely prasannatma. Prasanna means blissful atma. He's completely blissful in that Brahman. So it is possible, but it is highly improbable. And it requires sustained effort and very, very long period of jnana or dhyana. And then you can hope to get to that stage. But it's very hard. And it's very rare. So one should not aim for that at all. So the Brahmavadis do make spiritual progress, but very slow. The Bhaktas make very fast progress. And the Mayavadis make backward progress. Like Krishna said in 9.12, Mogha Asha, Mogha Karmano, Mogha, Mogha Asha, Mogha Karmano, Mogha Jnana Vichetasaha. They're completely lost. And they go to the bhava of the asuras and rakshasas. That's who they get attracted to. So it's a very, very dangerous path. Okay. So the point is, Brahmavadis are okay, but don't aim for that. It's a very long, torturous path. And we will talk in more detail about this in the 12th chapter, first section, 12th chapter has 3 sections. The first section is devoted to this topic, and we will talk more about that. So Brahmavadis are not offensive, but their path is very, very torturous, very hard. The Mayavadis are offensive to Krishna because they belittle his supreme position and they consider him simply to be a stepping stone. They want to step on Krishna and move forward somewhere else. Okay. Okay. Now we go to 7.25. So we've spent 50 minutes on this one verse. And it's very important that we spend the time. So please, if ever you have this question about impersonal versus personal understanding of God, you should listen to this part of the discussion and read 7.24 and the associated verses which we discussed. 7.25 now. Naham prakashah sarvasya yogamaya samavritah mudhoyam na abhijanati loko mam ajam avyayam. So now Krishna is saying what he does to such people. So translation is, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. Na aham prakashah sarvasya. Prakashah means manifest or visible. Prakash means light or something that you can see in the light. So na aham, I am not prakashah, visible, sarvasya, to everyone. So I am never manifest to the foolish, and I'll come to that. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, which is called Yogamaya. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So what does Krishna do to such people? Those who don't want to see Krishna or want to downgrade him, want to belittle him, Krishna is fine with it. He doesn't want to force himself upon you. So he becomes invisible to them. That's fine. If you don't want to see me, no problem. So he becomes covered by his internal potency called Yogamaya. And again, he's calling such people Mudha, foolish. Mudhoyam na abhijanati loko mam ajam avyayam. That foolish people cannot understand. Abhijanati, they cannot, na abhijanati, they cannot understand. Mam, that I am, my understanding as ajam and avyayam. Ajam means again unborn. I have no beginning. If you are taking the form at some time, there's a birth and there is death. He's saying I'm ajam. I'm unborn, and avyayam. Again, the word avyayam is coming, inexhaustible or eternal. So they don't understand this. So Krishna is saying that let them be as it is. If they don't want to see me, I'm not desperate to show myself to them at all. So a lot of people say that, I demand to see Krishna. If Krishna is really there, let him come here, show himself to me. Krishna is not interested in showing himself. It's like you are standing, a simple villager or somebody says, let the president come in front of me right now. If he cannot come in front of me, then he doesn't exist. Does it make any difference to the president? No. It will just leave him as clueless about the existence of the president as he was before. And he can continue to believe that the president doesn't exist. But that does not make the president non-existent. So now if you want to so how can you know the president? Or let's say, how can you know Krishna or God? If he is unwilling to come and show himself to you, how else can you know him? The other way to know somebody is to talk to someone who knows him. Find out someone else who knows the president, and you can ask him, oh, can you tell me how does the president look? Is he a real person? Have you met him? I cannot meet him, but have you met him? Like that you can ask. And such people, for God, for such people are our acharyas. So many acharyas have actually seen God. We shared about the Goswamis of Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. They have had darshan of Lord Krishna so many times. Srila Prabhupada once revealed that he had darshan of Lord Krishna as well. So, we can go and ask them, does Krishna exist? Have you seen him? And they can, if you go and ask in a nice way, in a humble way, in a submissive mood, Tad Vidhi Pranip 4.34 says how you should approach a guru. Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. So Pranipatena, Pariprashnena, and Sevaya. With a mood of humility, in an inquisitive mode, not a challenging mode, inquisitive mode, and in a service attitude. You can ask and they will explain. The acharyas explain, yes, I have seen Krishna, or here is what Krishna looks like. So that is how we can understand Krishna instead of demanding Krishna to be shown, to make himself visible. Otherwise he will say, Naham prakashas sarvasya. Sorry. Yoga Maya Samavritaha. Okay. So Krishna covers himself with Yoga Maya. Now there is this long discussion about Yoga Maya versus Mahamaya. We will skip that discussion for now. If there are questions later, we can bring it up in the Q&A. But in brief, Mahamaya, both are Krishna's energy. It's the same thing that we discussed in 7.14. Where Krishna is saying, Daivi hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. There that maya is Mahamaya. This Mahamaya is what is facilitating our existence in the material world. Yoga Maya is facilitating Krishna and his leelas, his pastimes, his activities. So, because Krishna has to cover himself, he calls Mahamaya. He says, Mahamaya, please come and cover me so that I don't become visible to this idiot. So one of the other questions is that when Krishna was present on the planet, everybody could see him. So how was he covered to the demons like Duryodhana, Kams, and so many other people who did not think that Krishna is God? So how did he cover himself? He was visible. So through the Yoga Maya, he covers their intelligence. He completely covers their intelligence. He does not reveal who he actually is. They may feel or they may understand that Krishna is some powerful person or some mystical person, or he can do these tricks or whatever, but he's not God. So their intelligence is clouded. Now, there's this example of in the Srimad Bhagavatam of Paundruka. He was a demon and he claimed that he is the real Krishna. And this other Krishna is the imposter. So he says that he told, and he used to say that this other Krishna has stolen all my things, all my paraphernalia. So he goes to Krishna and demands back, give me back my paraphernalia, all my things. You are not the real Krishna, I am the real Krishna. And one of the paraphernalia is Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra. So first Krishna tries to explain to him, but when he is adamant, then Krishna throws his Sudarshan Chakra. He says, okay, you want all my things? Here is the Sudarshan Chakra, take it. and the Sudarshan Chakra goes and cuts off his head and he dies. So that is the fate of such demons. Now, Krishna kills such people not out of anger or envy, but that is an act of, is a blessing, is an act of mercy, because they anyway have to die. One way or the other, the material body has to die. But if Krishna is killing them, first of all, he is limiting the extent of their offenses to Krishna by completely stopping them there. They are not causing any more offenses to Krishna. And the second thing is, if they are getting killed at the hands of Krishna, they are getting the supreme liberation. So they have to die one way or the other. Krishna does them a favor by killing them with their own hands. So that is the discussion of 7.25, where the point is that Krishna says that I am not visible, or I don't make myself visible to such people. I cover myself with Yogamaya. I'm just seeing what else I should cover here. Okay. Now we go into the next and the last section of the 7th chapter. So Krishna is going to say that he's covered by his Yogamaya. That's why he used the word Yogamaya here. Yogamaya samavritaha. Naham prakashah sarvasya Yogamaya samavritaha. So this Yogamaya is working for Krishna to enhance his pleasure potency, to enhance his activities, his leelas and pastimes. Just to clarify that it's not that Yogamaya is the supervisor of Krishna. Krishna is still the supreme. This Yogamaya is not having control over Krishna. Yogamaya is a servitor of Krishna. She just acts according to Krishna's instructions. So just to show that Krishna is the supreme, and the Yogamaya is not Mahamaya. Just to make that distinction clear, Krishna speaks the next verse, 7.26. And in 7.26, we will see Krishna's supreme position. So Krishna says, Vedham samatitani vartamani cha Arjuna. Vartamanani cha Arjuna, bhavishyani cha bhutani, mam tu vedana kaschana. So he says, Veda aham samatitani. So Veda, here the word Veda means knowing. So the Vedas means that which is to be known. That's why the Vedas are called as Vedas. But here Veda means the verb to know. So Veda aham samatitani. Samatitani means completely, in full. So sama, atita, atitani. Atita means past. You all probably understand atita, past. So I know everything in the past, Krishna is saying. Vartamanani cha Arjuna. I also know everything in the present, Vartamana. Bhavishyani cha bhutani. I know everything that is going to happen in the future. So Krishna says that he knows the past, the present, and the future. Cha bhutani, and I know all the living entities as well. Bhutani means living entities. So I know everyone, and I know what's going to happen to them, what has happened to them, and everything. Mam tu veda na kaschana, but me no one knows. So he's saying I am superior to all the living entities. I know everything about them. They don't know anything about me. So the translation by Srila Prabhupada is, O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all the living entities, but me no one knows. So Krishna is establishing this fact that he knows everything, past, present, and future. Now, this gives rise to one of the classical questions, the most MFAQs, most frequently asked questions. How does Krishna know the future? And related to that is, then what is the significance of my free will? If Krishna knows everything that I am going to do, then where is my free will? It means everything is preordained, right? So this is a very frequently asked question. There is nobody who cares to understand this topic and does not come up with this question. So the answer is very straightforward, but it is complex to understand. It's straightforward, but the understanding is complex. So please approach it with that thing. So first of all, and in this verse and even in the next verse, we will tackle another most frequently asked question, MFAQ. Okay. So the question is, or the concept to be understood is that of time, kala. So time itself is an energy, a material energy of Krishna. First understand this. Time is a material energy of Krishna, which means time does not exist in the spiritual world. Nothing material exists in the spiritual world, right? And time, being a material energy of Krishna, does not exist in the spiritual world. Now the question is, okay, how does the spiritual world function if there is no time? There was a time in the spiritual world when Krishna was a baby, when he stole butter. There was a time when he grew up and, was dancing with the gopis. So there is time, but you're saying there's no time in the spiritual world. So how do we understand this? First of all, so I'm not going to answer that question, but the point to be noted is that time is a material energy of Krishna, and this whole question of knowing the past, present, and future has time built into it. It's all about past, present, future. So we are talking about time. Correct? So the answer to that is that we are like, okay, stepping back. There are people who have written their autobiographies, right? You must have read autobiographies, which means they remember their past, correct? That's why they are able to write the autobiography, right? Now, can they change their past? No. That's why people write all their regrets in the autobiography. I regret, if I could do this again, I would do it differently, all those kind of things. So they remember their past, but they cannot change it. In computer science, there is a term called read-write. There is something called read-only permission. There is something called read-write permission, which means you can only read it, which means you can only see it or view it or know it, but you cannot change it. Read-write means you can know it as well as you can change it. So keep that in mind. So for us, the past is read-only. Okay. Aha, I forgot. There are 3 types of permissions. No permission, no read-write, or no read-only. You cannot even read. It's like the admin files. You cannot even read. They are not accessible to you, or it is read-only, or it is read-write. 3 permission levels are there. For us, the past is read-only. Okay. But the point is that we have written our future. We have already written our future. So the writing of our own future is ours. We have written it. So we have made all the choices that we have made for all the decisions that are going to come, even in the future. They are our choices. It is our free will. But we cannot, at this point, in this body, in this material body, we have no access to it. No read write. We just cannot access it. But Krishna can access it. Krishna can access our past and he can access our future. But we have written our future just like we can write an autobiography of our past. Okay, so we have written our forward biography as well, just that we cannot read it, but Krishna can read it. And not only Krishna can read it, Krishna can intervene and change it as well for us. So Krishna has read write permission on he can intervene, but he does not intervene. In 9th chapter, Krishna says, I am neutral. I don't interfere with people's lives. There are laws that I have made and the universe is running as per those laws. But for my devotees, I intervene personally, he says. So for his devotees, for his bhaktas, he does intervene. So that is what is being mentioned here, that Krishna knows. His intervening part will come in 9th chapter, but his knowing part is coming here. Bhavishyani, I know the Bhavishya, even though it has been written by us. So we have exercised our free will, the choices are ours, and it's our future, but Krishna knows it. We don't know it as of now in our present body. Okay? That is how much to understand. Now you can say, when did I write my future? Which means it's also a question of time, which means there was a point of time in the past when I wrote my future. So now again, we are getting mixed up in this whole concept of time. So I don't have an answer to that. I don't have a very good understanding of this. Whatever I said, I have heard from other people, other senior devotees, other acharyas, and I'm giving you that understanding. I have some understanding of this, but of course, I cannot give a full understanding. Okay. So if you are so interested, please, there are so many other Vedic literatures. There is the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. The answers are probably embedded somewhere deep inside. There are so many commentaries by our Vaishnava acharyas. If you are so interested in finding out the answer to this deep question, please invest your time, invest your energy, research these things. It's like trying to ask a physicist, how do you unify quantum mechanics and gravity? Obviously, there has to be some solution, this grand unified theory. They will tell you, yes, there has to be some answer has to be there because the world is working. It's one unified world. Somehow there is some grand unified theory. We don't know it yet. But if you are so interested, why don't you get a PhD in mathematics or physics or whatever and spend your life finding the answer? That will be a noble thing to do. Okay, so that's how much I can say about this topic. It's a very mind-boggling topic, very interesting, and more complex than trying to find the grand unified theory. So, calling for future acharyas to manifest themselves and spend their lives in enlightening us about the depths of Krishna's mysteries. So now we go to the next verse. So as you know, now this is generating a sense of wonder about Krishna. My God, how does Krishna know? Why can't I know? That's the thought that's probably coming in your mind. If only I knew all this mystery. Why can't I know? Correct? Is that thought coming in some people's mind? I wish I knew. I wish he didn't, stop here and he didn't claim that he doesn't know. I wish he told me more. I also wish that, by the way. So this desire to know what Krishna knows. I told you I don't have an answer. I gave you a blank sheet. I left you hanging. It's a loose thread hanging. And you have a desire to have the whole thread, not an open-ended thread. That desire is being talked about in 7.27. That you want to become like Krishna. And that is the fundamental problem. This feeling of incompleteness, this feeling of being not able to know as much as Krishna knows, not able to have that intelligence to be like Krishna, to be able to sort everything out. That deep desire to become like Krishna is what Krishna is saying is the source of all material problems. So let's see what 7.21 says. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandamohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. So ichha dvesha samuthena, that is the ichha you have. I have the desire. And this ichha is the desire to be like Krishna, to have the same powers, to have the same understanding, the same intelligence, the same everything like Krishna. And when you can't get it, when you feel limited and you feel constrained, the feeling of dvesha comes, hatred. Why didn't Krishna give me that intelligence which he has? So that ichha dvesha samuthena, one which is arisen from the ichha and dvesha, what arises from there is dvanda mohena bharata. Dvanda mohena, the illusion. Moha means illusion in this context, the illusion of duality. And duality means this whole material world is made of duality. And duality can be seen in many ways: good and bad, heat and cold, winter and summer. Okay. And the biggest duality is me versus Krishna. That is the biggest duality. That is the ultimate duality, and that is the duality that demons have. Hiranyakashipu, he says, where is Vishnu? Bring him in front of me. I will kill him and I will cut his head. Come on, let me have a match with Vishnu. Me versus him. That is the biggest duality, the duel. Hiranyaksha and Lord Varahadev, they had a big duel for 1,000 years. And Lord Varahadev was just playing with Hiranyaksha for 1,000 years because everybody was seeing the match. It's like me playing cricket with Sachin Tendulkar. So Sachin Tendulkar is this big cricketer, or maybe I can talk in more American terms, let's say. I know the tennis player, in my time, the tennis player used to be Pete Sampras and Ivan Lendl and Boris Becker. I'm from that time frame. I don't know the latest ones, Nadal and whoever else. So it's like me playing tennis with Pete Sampras. He can beat me in 2 minutes, but he keeps enjoying because the spectators have gathered. They need to have a good match, you know. So all the demigods were watching the fight between Hiranyaksha and Lord Varahadev. And for 1,000 years, Lord Varahadev continued. And then when he finally got bored and said, you know, let me finish the match, then he simply slapped Hiranyaksha and Hiranyaksha dies. So all this while, Hiranyaksha was thinking, see, I'm such a good match. I continued the match for such a long time, and soon I'm going to win. He didn't know that Lord Varaha is just playing with him, like, you know, kind of, what do you say? He's entertaining him, or he's simply, you know, tolerating him. They feel they are a match for God, the demons. That is the ultimate duality. I can be a good match for God. Bring him on. So that is arisen from Ichha Dvesha. Ichha and Dvesha. They cannot become like God, though they have a strong desire to become like God. Sarva Bhutani Sammoham. All living entities in the material world, not in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, they are all pure devotees of God. That's why they are in the spiritual world. Those who fall down to the material world, they have this deep dvesha and ichha. So all these living in the material world are like that. They are born into delusion. Sarge yanti. Parantapa means Arjuna. So that is how they are born in the material world. Because you have this desire, I can't figure it out, just like Krishna can. I want to figure it out. I want to figure it out. Okay? That desire makes us have that dueling mentality with Krishna. It's like a small child when he goes to a fair or a market with his dad, okay, and wants to buy a chocolate. And he tells his dad, Dad, I want the chocolate. Dad says, sure. Hey, can I have, tells the storekeeper, please give this chocolate. Storekeeper gives the chocolate to the son. Son is happy, he got the chocolate. Now, if the son starts thinking, how did my dad get the money? I should have the money so that I can go to the store and I can buy my own chocolate. How did he get the money? How did he earn? I should become like him so that I can have the money myself. Why do I need to depend on him? All that stuff, instead of just being happy with his chocolate. That is what is our eternal position, to be happy with Krishna, just like a child is happy with the father. Why do you want to become like the father? The father is happily providing all the resources, everything for us to be happy under his shelter, under his care. But we want to become God. That is the ultimate root of our entering into the material world. So that is Ichha Dvesha Samuthena. And it leads to Dvanda Mohena Bharata, the feeling of duality, the illusion of duality. So this question also gives rise to this other most important asked question, MFAQ, most frequently asked question, that we were in the spiritual world with Krishna. And then at some time, this thought came in our mind that I want to become like Krishna, and then we fell into the material world. Somehow the tinge of ichha came into our mind or our heart in the spiritual world, and we came to the material world. Sarva Bhutani Sammoham Sarge Yanti. We took birth in the material world because of the ichha dvesha. So Krishna is answering or touching upon that fact that this is how the living entities fall down from the spiritual world into the material world. So how did we fall down, and when did we fall down? And when are we going to go back? That is another big question. So if you see in this question, when did we fall down? At least that part of the question, the how part is sort of clear, because that doubt arises or that desire arises. The when part also has the concept of time built into it. When did I fall down from the material, from the spiritual world? But there's no time in the spiritual world. So the question that when did I fall down is also complex. To answer the when, I have to talk about time. When means time, correct? And there is no time in the spiritual world. So multiple big theses and various acharyas have commented on it in great detail. But the simple answer to this is that time in the spiritual world is nothing like the time in the material world. In the material world itself, time flows at different rates. Even science says this. That is the whole concept of general relativity by Einstein. Time flows at a different speed or a different rate depending on various conditions. The amount of gravitational force present, gravity and time, space and time are intertwined. Near a more massive object, time flows slower. That's the theory. And all that. So in the material world itself, and there is this big, I had shared this, I think, in a previous class, or maybe it was a different class. I don't know. Was it in this series or a different series about King Raivata, whose daughter was Revati? Did I talk about King Kukudmi, or his other name is Raivata? And he wanted to marry his daughter Revati. So he wanted to find a suitable groom for his daughter. Now I remember where I talked about it. I talked about it in a Srimad Bhagavatam class about the appearance of Lord Krishna. So yeah, so I don't think I talked about it. So there's the story in I think in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about King Raivata. Another name for him is King Kukudmi. His daughter was named Revati, and he wanted to find a suitable match for his daughter. And he was living on the earth planet. So he was a very powerful king, and he could go to Brahmaloka, to the residence of Brahma. And he goes there to Lord Brahma's place to ask him for recommendations. Who can I marry my daughter to? And at that time, it so happened that Lord Brahma was watching a concert by the Gandharvas, the celestial spiritual dancers, or not spiritual, celestial, material the Gandharvas. I think their names were Huhu and something else. And they had to wait for 20 minutes. When the concert, they didn't want to interrupt out of etiquette. And as soon as the concert was over, Lord Brahma's servants told them that King Raivata has arrived to see you. And Lord Brahma says, okay, bring them in. And Raivata and Revati both go there. And King Raivata says, please suggest a good match for my daughter. And he gives him a list of recommendations that maybe this person, maybe how about this, how about this, how about this person. And Lord Brahma starts laughing. He laughs and he says that all these people that you're talking about, they no longer exist. You have been waiting here for 20 minutes. But in these 20 minutes on the Earth planet, 82 Chatur Yugas have passed. Chatur Yuga means a combination of the 4 yugas: Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Combined is called one Chatur Yuga. He says 82 Chatur Yugas have passed. All these people you're talking about, they have all died, and their histories are also lost. No history exists of them. Like today, we know the history of Ashoka and King Vikramaditya, or Moses, or Egypt, kings of Egypt. We don't know any history beyond that. So he says even their histories are lost. Not only the kings are dead, but their histories are also dead. And while you have been waiting here, so the point of the Bhagavad, and then he says, let me suggest a suitable match. The suitable match is Lord Balaram. He is going to appear by the time you reach Earth back. Lord Balaram would have appeared. He will be a suitable match for your daughter. Go marry him, marry her. So the spirit is that of devotion. Marry your daughter to Lord Balaram. That was the spirit. The purpose of Bhagavatam is not to explain science and general relativity. That's not the purpose, but we can see all these things in the Bhagavatam, how advanced Bhagavatam is. It talks about time going at a different rate at different places. 20 minutes in Brahma's planet is equal to 82 Chatur Yugas on the Earth planet. And I have done other calculations I will share with you in 8th chapter. The ratio is 1 is to 3.11 times 10 to the power 12 for all the scientists on the call, which means 1 time unit on Brahma's planet is equal to 3.11 times 10 to the 12 units of time on the Earth planet. such a humongous number. That is just the time difference between Brahma's planet and Earth planet. And Brahma himself is on this minuscule, inside this minuscule universe in this material world. Okay. So this whole concept of time in the spiritual world, there is something called spiritual time. When I said there's no time in the spiritual world, what I meant is there is no material conception of time in the spiritual world, but there is a spiritual conception of time. So asking the question, when did I fall from the spiritual world, is very, very complicated question. Just to ask that question within the realm of the material world itself is so hard to understand. How 20 minutes in Brahma's planet means the whole history has been wiped out here is just mind-boggling. If somebody said this thing about Bhagavatam 100 years ago, he would be called a fool. Oh, you don't know science. Now, if you say this, people will say, what? Bhagavatam says this? Wow, it had the same concept which we are now discovering in science. So there are many things that we don't understand. We should approach it with a sense of humility. We should approach it that, yes, today I cannot understand. Maybe in 100 years, maybe in 500 years, I might get some more understanding. But we should not reject the spiritual texts like Bhagavatam and the Vedas just because we cannot understand them. So this is another topic that we cannot understand. When did we fall from the spiritual world? And instead of trying to understand when did we fall from the spiritual world, our worry should be how to go back to the spiritual world. It's like a lost child in the marketplace. Instead of worrying when the child is lost, he doesn't worry, how can I become like my father? His number one priority is to find his father so that he can be safe and happy. So that should be our priority. Okay. And there are many, many things, other things to be said. I have like 2 pages of things, of notes and points that can be discussed on this topic, but let's move on. It's already 5:34 and I wanted to finish the chapter today and take a lot of Q&A. There is some Q&A that has come in. I want to address that and also end at 6 o'clock. So let's see if we can do all of that. So the priority should be how to get out of this delusion, dvanda mohena, rather than trying to figure out how to become like Krishna, how to have the same understanding as Krishna, how to, okay. 7.28. Yesham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha vinirmukta bhajante mam drahavrata. Another super important verse. Well, I can say that for every single verse of 7th chapter, but this is another very important verse, that persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So Krishna is talking about, so there's a wonderful sequence here. As you saw the sequence from 25 to 26, 25 left you with that, or rather 26 to 27, 26 left you with that feeling, oh, why can't I know the future? Then Krishna is answering that in 27. This feeling of knowing everything as Krishna knows, that ichha and dvesha is the cause of the dvanda mohena. Okay. Now Krishna is saying the priority should not be to understand all these things, but how to get out of this material world. That should be the priority. How to get out of this illusion. So what is the solution? Krishna says, says te dvanda moha vinirmukta. Dvanda moha nirmukta. So that is the goal. Dvanda moha. You are trapped in this dvanda moha. The dvanda moha was there in the previous verse also. So nirmukta means to get liberated. How do you get liberated from this dvanda moha? That should be the priority. And the solution to that is antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. So the solution is antagatam papam and punya karmana. Get rid of antagatam means put an end to the papa. So get rid of the papa and punya karmanam. Do punya activities, punya karmanam. That is the starting step. So yesham means those who or whose antagatam papam, whose papa has been finished. Jananam, those people, punya karmanam, and who have started doing pious activities. What it means is that they are coming to the mode of goodness, doing good activities. Now this is itself not spiritual. This is not bhakti. We have discussed that so many times, that simply stopping to do sinful activities and doing pious activities at a material level is not bhakti. It is simply bringing one to the mode of goodness. But that itself is very good, because the mode of goodness is the best place to perform bhakti. So Krishna is saying, te dvanda moha vinirmukta. Such people get rid of this. Nirmukta means they get free from this duality, dvanda moha. And bhajante mam drhavrataha. They begin to perform bhajan with determination. Mam drhavrataha. Whose bhajan they perform? Mam, bhajante mam. With determination, dridha vrataha. With strong determination, they perform bhajan to me. They begin to offer devotional service to me. Okay? So this is the beginning of bhakti. So instead of worrying about the previous verse, which is Ichha Dvesha Samuthena Dvanda Mohena Bharata, instead of worrying about that, this is what Krishna is recommending that you should do, which is to come to the mode of goodness and then bhajante mam drhavrataha. And there is drhavrataha. There is a determination, determined effort. Now, some people will say, oh, I will do bhakti. I'm always bhakti. I'm always in bhakta. I'm always a bhakta. Every time I'm just bhakta. There's no need. There's no effort that need to be put. This is one clear verse where Krishna is saying that you must put effort. Dridha vrataha, with determination. There has to be determination. It cannot be free form. It cannot be free flowing. Oh, in my heart, there is a lot of bhakti. That's all. That's enough. That's an incorrect understanding. There has to be determined effort. You have to put determined effort. You have to take a dridha vrata. And the other point is, you do not have to become spiritually pure to perform devotional service. At this mode of goodness, platform of goodness, you can perform devotional service. Krishna is saying right here, just come to the platform of goodness and start performing bhakti, bhajante mam. And it means that at any stage, wherever you are, you may be a sinful person, start performing bhakti at that point. Don't wait to become spiritually advanced. So this verse is talking about how to become a serious and sincere devotee. Serious, sincere, and steady. 3 S's. Remember that. Serious, sincere, and steady devotee. Dridha vrataha. So one has to become steady by determination. And then how to become steady in the purport. Srila Prabhupada is pointing to this very wonderful verse. We will not go into the details of the verse itself. It's from Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2. And how to become steady, Srila Prabhupada is giving a very this verse which says that do not associate with materialistic people. One of the ways to become steady is to leave the association of materialistic people and always associate with pure devotees. Mahat Sevanam. Associating with pure devotees and quitting the relationship with materialistic people. And this requires determination. So this is one key step that you should take to make your bhakti steady. Now we'll quickly cover 29 and 30. 29. Jara marana mokshaya maam ashritya yatanti ye te brahma tad viduh kritsnam adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death, take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. This is the real Brahman understanding Krishna is saying. Te Brahma tad viduh kritsnam. Who are the Brahma Vidu? Brahma Vidu means those who know Brahman are the ones who have Mam Ashritya. 7.29b, Krishna says, Mam Ashritya Yatantiye. Those who have taken Mam Ashritya, my shelter. Ashraya means shelter. So Krishna is saying those who have taken my shelter, they are the ones who actually know that Brahman as well. Because once you know Krishna, you know Brahman also. So that is the real understanding. If you really want to understand Brahman, Krishna is saying, understand me. And you don't have to understand Krishna. That would become like Ichha Dvesha Samuttena. I want to understand everything that Krishna understands. Not like that understanding, but understanding in shelter. Mam Ashritya. Like a small child, he is happy with his dad instead of trying to become the dad. Mam Ashritya. And in this way, they can conquer Jara Marana Mokshaya. They can conquer birth or old age and death. Mokshaya, which means they can go to the spiritual world. Once you conquer death, Jara Marana Mokshaya means you have gained moksha from death. And they know everything about the transcendental activities. Adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. So Krishna is saying, just come to my shelter, Mam Ashritya, and you will get the benefit of everything else. You will know what is Brahman. You will get moksha from death, from this material world, and you will know everything about transcendental activities. And all these questions that you have, all of them will get answered just by coming under my shelter, Mam Ashritya. Don't try to figure it out on your own. This is Bhakti Yoga. Take shelter of Krishna and ask him, Krishna, can you please tell me how it all works? And Krishna will share whatever we need to know, whatever he thinks we can understand. To that extent, he will share. If the child wants to know that how does my father earn money, child can ask, hey dad, how do you earn money? What do you do in office? Why do they pay you all this money? And dad can explain in simple terms. Okay, I go to the fab, I, build these chips, I press this button and press that button, and, whatever else is there. So the most important part of this verse is Mam Ashritya. takes shelter of Krishna. Last verse, 7.30. Sa adhibhuta adhidevam mam, sa adhiyagyam cha ye viduhu, prayana kale picha mam, te vidur yukta chetasaha. So another very important concept is coming up. The translation is, those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation, of the demigods, and all of the methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So, such people who have taken ashmam ashritya, like in the previous verse, who have taken shelter of me, they know everything. And here Krishna is introducing three terms: adhibhuta, adhidevam, and adhiyagyam. And these will be explained in the next chapter. In the beginning, even Arjuna asks, what are these things? So we will cover those there. But basically, this is the way the whole material world works. These are the various various causes and various potencies, this is the machinery of the material world. Adhibhuta, adhidaivam, adhiyagyam chaye viduhu. So you will have that knowledge once you come to my shelter. So this is an extension of the previous verse where Krishna is saying, just come to my shelter and you will have all the knowledge. And not only that, your mind will be engaged in me at the time of death. So Krishna is hinting on a very, very big point here, that it is very important to engage the mind on Krishna, especially when prayana kale chapimam, prayana kale pichamam, te vidur yukta chetasaha. Your yukta chetasaha, your mind, chetasa means mind will be yukta, means engaged. When? Prayana kale, at the time of death. So with this, taking this shelter of me, your mind will be engaged in me even at the time of death. Not only will you have all the knowledge during your life, at the time of death, you can think of me. It's very, very, very hard to think of someone, of Krishna or God at the time of death. At the time of death, only those thoughts come to your mind in which you have invested your whole life. Those are the only thoughts that come to your mind. No other thoughts will come. And I'm going to talk about a very wonderful example of this taken from a movie. If you want, you can, this is a movie made in the 1940s, black and white, very poor audio video quality. And I'm not even sure where you can find it. It's called Citizen Kane. Have you heard? Anybody has heard of this movie, Citizen Kane? Okay, see if you can watch it. I mean, it's a movie, it's a regular movie, but the punchline at the end is like awesome. And we will talk about that in the next class. So if you want to get a more deeper experience, watch this movie if you can, Citizen Kane. Anyway, remembering God at the time of death is very, very important. That's the point being made here. And Krishna is saying, by taking his shelter, you can do that. Okay. Plus, during the life, you will have also all the knowledge that Krishna wants you to have. So we completed the 7th chapter. The summary or the main essence of the 7th chapter once again is Sambandha and Abhideya, and little bit of Prayojana. Sambandha means who is Krishna and how to achieve him. how to take shelter of him is through bhakti. So who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and he is everything in essence. And he is the Supreme Lord, and he is a person. And our goal should be to develop a loving relationship with him. We should take his shelter in love and devotion, not out of fear, not out of force, but out of love and devotion. And how to do that is through bhakti. And the concept of bhakti will be in more detail will be described by Lord Krishna in the upcoming chapters. Another thing that Lord Krishna says is what kinds of people come to him and what kinds of people don't come to him. Now, this is something very important. This is the last punchline I want to mention in this 7th chapter. Krishna says, Chatur vidha bhajante mam. 4 types of people come to me. Chatur vidha bhajante mam janaha sukritino arjuna artho jigyasur artharthi gyani cha bharatarshva. So artha, artharthi, jigyasu and gyani. And among these, mostly it is artha and artharthi, people who want something or who want to get rid of something. Basically, people with problems. Now, this means that, so I'm bringing out a very important point. If you're about to drop off, please stay on. This is an extremely, extremely, extremely important point that I want to say. Okay? People who are generally well-to-do in life. Now, everybody has problems, agreed. But many people will say, in general, my life is good. People who are well-to-do and generally, don't have problems. They may have some problems, but once they go to some, other people who are homeless or something, they will feel very good. My God, I am really in a very nice place. Wherever I am, I wish I be here only. Such people are the ones who are at highest risk of deviating from bhakti or any spiritual path, because their material condition is such that it's very, very comfortable. It's not going to put them in the category of artha and artharthi that much. They are not in the category of artha and artharthi. And so why worry about God? Chatur vidha bhajante mam. So if you're not in one of those categories, why would you do bhajante mam? So the point being made is that the more materially well off you are, the less likely you are to go towards God. I'm going to repeat that. This is one of the most important parts of the 7th chapter. This is a big warning sign. The more you are materially well off in your life, the less likely you are to go towards God or make progress, the determined effort to make progress towards, or if you are making progress, there's more likely that you will drop off, you will deviate, because life will take over, your comforts will take over. So you have to be very careful. Krishna is giving that warning right here. And that is also the reason why Krishna says that you must build detachment. Because once you start building detachment, you are kind of creating that feeling for yourself that material world is not such a happy place. It's like a controlled explosion, so to say. That is another thing you have to keep in mind. So too much material comfort is an impediment in devotional or in spiritual progress. Remember this. This has been said multiple times in the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. In the prayers of Queen Kunti to Lord Krishna, she says that beauty wealth, health, all these are impediments in devotion to you, she says to Krishna. So please mark this very, very carefully. All of you, or many, many of you, are very well to do. That is going to become an impediment in your devotional life. And which is why many people don't even care to come to read Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So please, please, please keep that in mind, and don't let that, do everything you can to not let that become a reality in your life. Okay? So we will end with the 7th chapter here. It's 5:58. I'll go till 6:05. There are two significant questions among few others, but I want to touch upon them, and I will go over them in more detail next time, because there's not enough time left to do good treatment of them. But at the same time, I don't want to leave them unanswered, because those who asked this question seemed very serious and sincere people who wanted those answers. So not this one, not this one either. This one, significance of Guru. The other ones I will take next week. These ones also I will take again next week. So this question says, I believe you briefly mentioned about the significance of Guru, and I did, in spiritual practice. And question is, could you please elaborate on it and help understand why we need to pray through Guru? Could you also explain the role of Guru from practical devotional perspective in our daily lives? Is it important that the Guru be physically present in his or her mortal body? So I'll mention a few things and I'll elaborate more in detail next time. So yes, at the time of establishing the relationship between Guru and Shishya, or between disciple and spiritual master, it is important that both be present in their mortal or material bodies, because there need to be an evaluation from both sides. The Guru must feel, or must know the disciple to whether he's a worthy disciple or not, to accept him as a disciple. You cannot just say, hey, I'm from today, I am so-and-so's disciple. You can't declare. The Guru must accept you as a disciple. And similarly, the disciple must accept the Guru as a Guru. The Guru can't say, okay, from today, you are my disciple. The disciple will say, hey, no, I'm not your disciple. I'm not going to follow anything you say. So there has to be mutual acceptance, and therefore, but beyond that, once that relationship is established, then a physical connection is not needed. I'll explain that, details of that in the next class. And the other thing is to offer service through Guru is the only way. I remember somebody had asked a question, how to offer bhoga or food to God. And I had answered that question, prepare something nice and sattvic and all that, but always have a picture of Srila Prabhupada. Never, never, never offer directly to Krishna. Never. You must have a pure devotee to whom you offer. And that also is a very, very deep and intricate topic. The short answer is, Lord Krishna says to Yudhishthir Maharaj, Yudhishthir, the one of the Pandavas, the eldest among the Pandavas, he says that if somebody asks me, I will give him liberation, I will give him moksha. No problem. You ask me anything you want, moksha, I will give you moksha. No problem. But if you ask me to let you serve me, I don't give that very easily, my service. The opportunity to serve Krishna is not given easily by Krishna. He can give moksha more easily. Why? Because if he's giving moksha, fine, you got moksha, you are living happily in Vaikuntha. But if Krishna takes service from you, Krishna becomes your servant out of love. If Krishna really takes service from you, he becomes your servant. And Krishna says, I don't want to become the servant of just about anybody. I only want to become the servant of my pure devotees. Only my pure devotees. I will do anything for my pure devotees. I will become their servant. Krishna became the servant of Arjuna, charioteer, chauffeur. It's a dignified term for driver. Hey, driver, chalo. It's like, driver is like a low-class job. So Krishna became servant of Arjuna because Arjuna is a pure devotee. So Krishna does not easily accept service from everyone. So, but more merciful than Krishna are his pure devotees. Pure devotees of Krishna are far more merciful than Krishna himself. So, when we put a picture of, and we know Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee. Now, you may have other examples of pure devotees. You can put their picture as well instead of Srila Prabhupada. That's fine. But you must be sure that that person is a pure devotee. Okay? So I can give you one recommendation of Srila Prabhupada as a pure devotee. If you don't have any such person, at least have Srila Prabhupada's picture. And he is merciful. He will not have that qualification, oh, you have to be a pure devotee. He will accept the service from you. And he will give to Krishna. And Krishna will accept it because it's coming from Srila Prabhupada. That is why Guru must be there. A Guru who is a pure devotee. Not anybody, not any Guru. Any Guru who says, okay, give me 10 rupees, I will, now you are my disciple. Not cheap Gurus. Pure devotees. They will overlook all your disqualifications. They will overlook all that. They will accept your service and they will give it to Krishna as if it is coming from them. Krishna will accept it because it's coming from them. And later on, they will recommend it to Krishna. Hey, this person, he is my disciple. He is not very qualified, but for my sake, please accept him into the spiritual world. Krishna will say, okay, because you are recommending, I will accept him. So everything is happening based on the recommendation of Guru. We are not pure enough to have a direct relationship with Krishna. And Krishna is not that merciful that he will overlook all our bad, all our blackness, all our problems. Guru, pure devotees will overlook because they are very merciful, more merciful than Krishna. So we have them as our representatives or as our, as our, in India, you call it source. Put some source, put some, somebody who will plead your case. So that is the importance of Guru. So that's why all offerings to Krishna must go through Guru. I'll explain more of this in the next class. This other question was about associating with materialistic people during preaching. So we talked about this today. Don't associate with materialistic people, associate with pure devotees. But the question being asked here is how to associate with materialistic people, or you have to associate with materialistic people if you want to share Krishna's message with them. Because to begin with, they are materialistic. They don't know Krishna's message. So you have to associate with them. How do you do that? And I will explain this in more detail, but the summary is there is a difference between giving your association and taking their association. So such people, those who want to share Krishna's message with others, they must know the art of giving their association, but not take their association. A very simple example is the doctors who are, and this is very obvious in today's time, in COVID and all that. You know, if doctors don't put on the protection, they just say, oh, I want to save this patient, I will go and save the patient, and they don't do anything, what will happen to the doctor? They will get COVID. So the patient was sick, and the patient will pass on his sickness to the doctor, which means the doctor has taken the association of the patient, of the sick person. Is that very intelligent, doctor? No. So the intelligent doctor, what he must do, he must give his association. Obviously, the doctor must treat the patient. The doctor should help the patient, but he must put on a protective gear so that he can give his association, but not take their association. He must give them the goodness he or she has to give, the medicines, all the other care. The doctor must be able to give it, but not take the sickness back. And the doctors do this by way of putting protective gear. Similarly, those devotees who are trying to share this with other people, materialistic people, they must know the art of giving association, of giving Krishna's message, but in that process, they should not get caught up and slip and become like them. They should be very determined, very careful, very cautious. While they are preaching to them, they should not become like them. They should not take their sickness and become sick. If you are not confident of doing that, don't do it. Let's say a doctor who is not trained to put on a protective gear. It's better if he doesn't treat the COVID patients. So if you're not confident of doing that, don't go. So that point where we say don't associate with materialistic people is meant to say don't take the association of materialistic people. That's the meaning. It doesn't mean don't give your association to them. You may give your association to them. Okay? And we will talk about it in a little more detail next time. But that's all we will end at today. And next time we will start with 8th chapter, which is another super, super important chapter. So please be ready, read the chapter ahead of time and come to the class. And also, if possible, see that movie, Citizen Kane, nice movie. It's a small part, it's not a very big deal. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.